I get the consciousness before I get the pussy.
Just means so much of people's money depends on public events. So I do feel like sometimes public events are staged just so nothing happened in life. Stage something so we have some money to be made. Like, I mean, so much of I'm talking like journalists, YouTubers, TikTokers, everything is online now. So I kind of feel like the economy in a weird way depends on these weird things to happen.
Yeah, but
so these people can make their money.
Yeah. I think that's maybe just like a natural give and take, like a natural order of things. I don't know if like, I mean, that shit would be, but you know, I don't bypass what you're saying because realistically, man, everything to me, like I tell my daughters, man, everything you see on TV is fake. Everything to me is motherfucking smoke and mirrors. And, you know, you don't really know unless you're in the know.
Yeah.
And so this, all this shit could be motherfucking set up to keep shit moving, keep shit going. You know what I'm saying? I think that the content makers would have a hard time doing that shit. Like, you know, if a motherfucker's a famous TikToker, it'd be hard to make Will Smith slap Chris Rock. Like, yo, come on, man, we want to make a skit.
Yeah,
right?
no,
like,
you're
you know
right.
what I'm saying?
You're right.
Like,
so, okay, I take that back. I don't know if everything is staged. I wouldn't doubt it if some things are staged, but what I'm saying is, like, people are waiting for these events. Like, they're just waiting around for these events. And when these events happen...
We even talked about the Chris Rock, Will Smith thing, right?
Yeah.
Now, looking in hindsight, I could believe... I mean, a part of me thought... I even said in the episode where it's like, man, that shit could be a setup. A part of me, looking in hindsight, is like, all right, that could have been one of them things where it's like, yo, man, all right, cool. We're going to do this because realistically... You know, let's just say whoever puts together the Oscars was doing a one and done with a black producer type of thing. Where a motherfucker said, look, man, all right, cool. People got this Oscar so white shit, so we need a black production. We want you to do it. Are you down? The motherfucker could say, all right, cool, I'll do it. And then have this whole Andy Kaufman thing where it's like, yo, you know what? I'm going to call Will. I'm going to call Chris. We're going to have a meeting. Look, bro, you nominated for a motherfucking Academy Award for this movie. Let's have this shit happen so that your night winning your Academy Award that you should have got maybe 20 years ago or whatever. Maybe you got Academy Awards. I don't know. Yeah. But people will remember this night forever. They will never let me do this shit again. I don't think they'll let another black person do it. So let's make this shit memorable forever. Now, Chris, he would have to accept being on the victim side of it, but then he's not really a victim because his special on Netflix after that was probably like the most viewed shit ever. Yeah. Because everybody waited a year for him to comment on what the fuck happened. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's like now he's, you know, now, and not to say that was his best special. He got other specials that motherfuckers will remember more. Yeah. But that moment could have been something that they agreed on where it's like, yo, look, this moment will be ours forever. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, it'll be.
It could have been that. Now that's just me, you know, overthinking some shit. But you know, I wouldn't put that past fucking Hollywood. Yeah. Like I don't put nothing past anything that's in production. Yeah. Because realistically, you know what I'm saying? Like we done seen, you know, like I said, like, you know, I just mentioned like, you know, everybody having material on this Diddy shit, right? Growing up, you would have never thought Puff Daddy was the motherfucker who everybody has the claims on him to be now. Yeah. You know, I don't know if you listened to a lot of rap growing up, but
some, not a lot.
Like his image wasn't anywhere near this shit.
What was his image?
His image was really, I want to say, all right, his image wasn't Will Smith
Good guy.
safe.
Yeah.
It wasn't Will Smith safe because he was still like he was an executive producer of niggas like Biggie and like Mace and Black and all these thugged out ass rappers.
Yeah.
So he couldn't be Will Smith safe because Will Smith was just Will Smith.
Yeah.
But you know, he had that image of, you know, when certain things would happen or you would hear, like, he would make the news for certain shit, it would be like, man, he ain't do that shit. This motherfucker, like, he's the dancing nigga in the... I remember when I was a kid. Well, maybe I might have been... Yeah, I was probably, like, in my single years, like, 8, 9 years old. I asked my dad one time, I'm like, yo... Because around the neighborhood, my dad is... He's that dude, like, he's my dad. But he's also like, he was like the neighborhood star, you know, growing up and shit like that. And he could do everything. But I would always, I didn't understand that shit as a kid. So I'm always like, I asked him like, yo, man, why you always say hi to everybody? Like he's a dude that'll walk down the street and speak to everybody. Yo, hey, what's up? All right. How you doing?
My dad does that too.
And I was like, yo, why do you do that? Like, why do you say hi to everybody? He said, cause if you're nice to everybody, if ever you got to do something, everybody you're nice to will vouch for you and say, nah, he couldn't have done that. And I said, wow, I didn't understand that shit until I got older. And I was like, you have to be a real psycho to play chess kind of with your psycho actions.
No, that's so funny you're saying that because I'm right now reading a book. Where is it? It's called 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. And that's exactly what the book is about. I'm just starting the book, but the first rule of the book. So the whole premise of the book, it sounds psychotic. It sounds
sinister.
But I've watched YouTube videos of this guy, and he's one of the he's such a sweetheart. So it's like it's just so ironic to see like this really sweethearted person writing this. But in the introduction of the book, he talks about how these laws of power, if you don't play them, you're just not going to be successful. Like you're going to screw up your life. Like you're just going to get trampled on. They're in a perfect world, we would all be kind. And he also explains that it's not always about having power over people in a malicious way. Right. Sometimes it's just about protecting yourself. And the first rule of the book is never, let me open it up. Hold on. Look, I took all the notes and everything. Never outshine your master.
Right.
And then he gives these stories about how like there was this one, I can't remember the names of the dudes. I have a bad memory, but he talks about this one. He was working for a king and he wanted like a promotion. Mm-hmm. So his idea was, let me throw a lavish party. If I throw this big party, the king is going to be impressed and I'm going to get the promotion. Yeah. The king ended up putting him in jail because he got jealous. So and it's like, so you start thinking about it and you're like, oh damn, that's right. And it got me thinking back to situations in my life. I'm like, oh my God. So that one time that I was trying to impress my boss and he ignored me, it's because I was threatening to him. Yeah. So it's like, this shit is real. Like it's like, and it's,
I think you kind of have to know when to pull that move.
Yeah.
And when to not.
Yeah.
And it is a thing of like, even with my dad saying that, you know, I understand that has two sides of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It could be on the malicious side where it's like, hey, yeah, I'm a motherfucking psycho. So, you know, in case I got to break a motherfucker's neck, everybody in the neighborhood can vouch for the fact that I'm not like that. You know what I'm saying? But then it also could be, like you said, protecting yourself in the matter of, you know, you never really show your hand until you really kind of have to. There's another book called like The Spook That Sat by the Door.
Yeah.
And that's a book about like slavery. It's set in like slavery time, right? Where there was this house slave who was really close with like, you know, the slave owners and shit like that. And all the slaves that were treated like shit by the slave owners hated him out of envy and shit like that, because it's like, yo, this motherfucker's treated the best and all that shit there. But what happens is right? The slave owners loved him so much that they started to think little of him, right? To where it's like, you know, they would have meetings and shit, and you know, they would talk about shit in the meetings. You know, they would talk about shit that they wouldn't usually talk about with like the slaves around.
Yeah.
And then if somebody seen him there, they'd be like, "Yo, what's up with dude?" They'd be like, "Nah, he's okay. He's, you know, he's all right." And then what happened was, at some point, the slaves who were treated like shit decided to revolt.
Yeah. And
that slave that they hated for being treated so nice, he was the one that knew where all the guns were. He was the one that knew, you know, where, you know, what the plan was if something like this were to happen. And, yo, they gonna do this and da-da-da-da. Yeah. So it's like, that's even, you know, it's one of those things where it's like you kind of got to sacrifice your own dignity for a certain amount of time to be able to pull something like that off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, even with comedy, you know, I do these shows and I get these comedy people who come up to me and they've been doing it for 12, 15 years, but they're
not progressing.
They really just doing the same circuit, doing the same shit. You know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong. I'm under the tutelage of some underground kings, and I hold that with pride because I see what they're like. I see that they're, you know, it's motherfuckers who could have made it, but maybe they're just not down with doing the Hollywood shuffle. Yeah. So it's like, bro, I'll just tour these streets until I die. I don't give a fuck. Yeah. But then there's some motherfuckers who just hang on to the fact that I done did comedy for 12 years. You know what I'm saying? But you only got to give them $150 to book them. Yeah. And, you know, not to say money runs shit, but it's like, I see them perform, some of them, and it's like, all right, I see why you stagnant. But then those will be the motherfuckers who try to give advice. Right. And even though everything inside me is like, man, shut the fuck up. It's not I can't do that because of even the small connections they have. Later on in life, or not even later on in life, they could, you know, introduce me to somebody who could potentially change everything that's going on because they've been doing it for so long. Maybe it didn't work out for them, you know what I'm saying? But it could happen like that. And you know what I'm saying? Like that's where I say you kind of got to sacrifice your, maybe not dignity, but maybe you just got to know when to have a filter.
If you know what the purpose is behind it, you're not really sacrificing your dignity. Like, for example, okay, here's like a whole nother.
I don't think that's true, because if a bitch fuck her way to the top, I think she is sacrificing.
Right. But that's different. But
or if a guy fuck his way to the top,
that's
like
different.
That.
That's different. You're not fucking anybody. You're just being nice. That's like two very different things.
I would for all you older. All right, here's an example. Women, I would fuck my way to the top.
Here's an example, totally unrelated to this, but like a parallel of a different situation. Here's a situation where manipulation works. Have you ever been in an argument with somebody where you realize the closest thing to peace is just making them think they're right? You're like, I'm not going to win this argument. Let me just pretend they're right and pretend they won this argument just so I can have peace. Like, that would be a way where it's like, yeah, you're giving your dignity, but really your dignity is your peace. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah. And I've been in those situations, but I will not do that. Because one, I'm not a confrontational person. Yeah. So I feel like if you're coming at me with confrontation, like, it's a difference between trying to have a conversation with somebody or just starting an argument. So if you're coming at me with confrontation, I don't like, there's certain things that I live by where it's like, bro, I don't move on maliciousness. Yeah. So anything that you feel like, the thing that keeps me kind of sane, right? Even with sometimes people being upset with me, the thing that keeps me sane is knowing that I don't do anything purposely to upset anybody. If I do some shit that upsets you, okay, different strokes for different folks. Mm-hmm. That shit just got you tight. But I don't do anything to be like, yeah, this, I'm gonna get this motherfucker. So if you coming at me with a concern in a hostile way because you think that, you know, I'm literally gonna go to the fullest extent to show you, yo, that's not. I'll defend my character till I die.
Yeah.
And even if, like, yeah, there are those moments where you're talking to a wall and it's just both parties think they're right. I will digress, but I'll digress in a way that lets you know, yo, I digress. I'm not gonna make you think you right, but I will be like, yo, you know what? You got it. I ain't talking about this shit no more. And then it goes on straight ignore mode if you want to keep talking about the shit.
But there's been times where I'm just like, I realize like the big picture, and I'm like, yes, I know I'm right in this situation and I want to be right, but like I don't want to talk in circles. Like I've got shit, I've got piano to practice, I've got podcast to edit.
Maybe, yeah, that's when I hit.
Maybe the quicker way to peace is just to pretend I care about their side and just mentally do my own thing. And I don't think that's selling your dignity. I think that's actually like,
no, I think that's different.
That's some baller shit. I think that's different from what I was saying about sacrificing your dignity. I don't think that's sacrificing dignity. I do think that's sacrificing to some point. I think that's sacrificing peace. Right.
Because I feel like, you know, maybe at that moment shit is settled, but I do feel like humans are naturally greedy. Yeah. And if you give somebody an inch, they'll take a mile. And it's like, all right, if I make this motherfucker think he's right or she's right all the goddamn time, eventually they'll get to the point where they feel like they're never wrong.
Yeah.
And at that point, there is no more peace because you've created a monster, kind of, where I'm a person who I genuinely feel like, you know, I'm never wrong.
What?
Yeah, because even like on some verbal shit, right? Sometimes you'll see, like, even in these conversations, I'll take a minute to get out my thought and what I'm saying, because I think about shit so many times before I say things or before I do things. I'm playing mental chess because I don't want to get caught up in certain things where it's like, but you said this, and then you, like, I don't like that shit. So like me saying like I feel like I'm never wrong is because if I feel like
you put your thought into it. I get what you're saying. It's
that, and because like verbally, I don't speak on shit that I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And if I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, I'll preface it with that. Like when we talking about the politics and shit, it's like, yo, I don't pay attention to that shit. But this shit, you know what I'm saying? Like so in that moment, I might be factually incorrect, but I'm not necessarily wrong because one, that's opinionated. Yeah. And then, you know, it's shit like that. But like, I don't speak unless I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Yeah. And I don't do things like naturally. My instinct is to always, like, for the most part, you know, like, you know, my instinct, we've all done shit where it's like, damn, I shouldn't have did that. Yeah. But my natural instinct is to not do things that are going to inconvenience motherfuckers. And if I do something that inconvenience them, it's because I thought that it was the best thing at the time without thinking about the inconvenience. Yeah. Until the inconvenience happens and you're like, oh shit, man, I was just trying to, you know what I mean? It's one of those things. But like, you know, I'm not arrogant in thinking that I'm never wrong no matter what. It's just that if I know I did some, if I did some shit that upset you and you let it be known that it upset you in a way that's not hostile, I can calmly explain to you why I did what I did. And then you can explain to me why that upset you. And if I can, maybe I don't understand it, but if I can see like, all right, that makes sense at least, then it's like, yo, look, I wasn't trying to upset you, but my bad if I did. It was just, that's what I felt like was, you know, good for the time or whatever the fuck. Yeah. Or sometimes it is kind of like a selfish, you know, thing. Cause I mean, part of the reason why, you know, girls fucking, you know, break up with me or stop fucking with me is because, you know, I understand that my sanity is the most important thing in my life. If I'm not thinking straight, I can't be all these things to all these people. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I can't be a good father. I can't be a good comedian. I can't be a good worker. I can't be a good, whatever the fuck else titles that are out there if I'm not thinking straight.
Yeah.
So, like you get into these situations, especially like when it comes to men and women or, whoever you're more romantic with.
Yeah.
You get into these situations where, nagging happens and shit like that, where it's like, they have the whole narrative sometimes like, happy wife, happy life and all types of shit that, where it's like,
I've heard that one.
I kind of feel like, like, all right, cool. Cheating just flat out in a general sense, blanket statement. Yeah, it could be fucked up. But how about if some dude gets some girl pregnant when they're 18 and the families force them to get married and they either don't have enough money for divorce or they just don't believe in divorce.
Yeah.
The families don't believe in divorce. There's peer pressure to get married. So now it's peer pressure to stay together forever. The kids are getting grown. We don't want to break up the family and all that type of shit. He or she is in a situation where they did not want to be in.
Yeah.
And over time, that can cause resentment. That can drive a motherfucker insane and not, I don't want to say insane to the point where it's like some Amityville shit where you just kill the family. Yeah. Even though some motherfuckers do that shit. It could drive you insane to the point where you literally start hating your life. Like you start dreading, like before we started recording and you said what happened to you maybe like, what was it, a couple weeks ago or something like that? What happened to you, right? And I'm like, and you're like, yeah, but I was, I'm not gonna say what you said, but it's like, yo, I'm not.
Okay. I'll recap it to explain it.
Oh, okay.
I had an incident a couple weeks ago. I think I talked about it on my podcast already, where it was technically a sexual assault. Now, when I say sexual assault, I wasn't raped or anything like that, but I went to the train station and there was a group of 3 guys and I got groped. And thank God they didn't they didn't do anything else. Like they didn't attack me. It was daylight. They walked away. They left me alone. But that got me thinking. And you were saying maybe it's not good to stay stuck in that resentment because it's going to ruin your life. But what I said to you in response to that was, you're right. It wasn't good to get stuck in resentment at first, but what came out of facing that and sitting with my resentment for a little longer was that realization. So it was interesting. It started off from that incident happening, me being slightly traumatized and wondering how worse could this get? Like what would have happened if it was at night? Me harping on it, me getting resentful, me hating young men because they were young men. So every time I saw men that were like 18, because they were like 18, 19, 20, I was like pieces. Like I held that anger. Like I had started having a negative feeling about young men because I thought they were just like trying to impress their friends, whatever.
And they most likely were.
That's what it was. So, but throughout the week, because it's been like 2 weeks now, throughout the week that I started harping on this, I eventually started getting into philosophical ideas about evil, and where I got to, you just said about resentment.
Hold on, wait. Before you go to that point, because what? I had a totally different point of bringing that up.
Oh, what?
I was saying like when you started, well, it did have something to do with resentment, but like I was bringing your situation up as an example because. Now that you said it, you said, yo, I don't even, like, I'm usually showing my boobs. I don't show my boobs. I'm dressing like a nun, which you're not. I think you're dressed as a really sexy, like Little House on the Prairie. Like if they had if Little House on the Prairie had like a Jezebel character, you would be that. You're not a Jezebel now because that's, but yeah, like you're like, yo, I dress, and I'm like, yo, you in the crib.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, but I was out and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, yeah, but you dress like that at home. Now, you said no because you just didn't have time to change. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, if it was like that where it's like, yeah, bro, I'm not even comfortable being free in the crib, that's where I feel like the situation I was describing with the whole, like, married thing and people being with people they don't want to be with, they start hating the place that's supposed to be peaceful. Yeah. Like they start resenting the spot that's supposed to be peaceful. And the only thing that's going to come from that is either you might actually pull a motherfucking Amityville and just go crazy.
That's what I was going to say before. It relates.
Cheating
I was going to say resentment is the root of all evil. I realized that after the week. If anybody does something that's considered evil, even murder, even rape, anything, at some point they have to be doing that because somewhere in their life they didn't have power and they wanted to take it out on somebody else. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like, so if you...
unless you're just a fucking sociopath that just...
Now, that's different. But even then, even when you hear about these sociopaths, like you hear about serial killers that they usually end up killing victims that looked like their first girlfriend that broke their heart. Like, yeah. I know it was... there was one serial killer, Ted Bundy. All the women he killed were all like the same age, the same height, the same weight, mostly brunettes, and that just so happened to be it was like because he had a bitter resentment against a girl who broke his heart. Yes, he was a psychopath, but it seemed like the killing.
Yeah, I mean, I was mostly talking about the fake. Like, what was that? I was talking about like the fictional stuff. Like I was talking about like Michael Myers, motherfucker, just like killing as a kid. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like little shit like that where it's just like, all right. But no, yeah, you're right. Like resentment does.
It's like the root of every wrongdoing.
Yeah. Yeah, I could get with that. Yeah. But I do believe that if you do what you can to eliminate that. Yeah. Like cheating is looked at as a bad thing by, most of society. But if a man or a woman is cheating because they can find some type of peace and some type of solitude and tranquility with this other individual so that they don't go over the top, in that instance, it's like, yo, what, like, how do you get mad at that? Like, because I know me personally, man, what is that shit? The first rule of nature is whatever the fuck the saying is. Self-preservation is like, whatever.
I don't know.
But I think that's a part of self-preservation. You know what I'm saying? If I'm in a relationship with a bitch that I do love and I do really want to be with, and, but she is just, the motherfucker is making it difficult. I either have a choice to either stay around the headache all the time or find some outside source, whether that be a person, whether that be, you don't want to say the bar, but like whether that be something that brings me some type of peace because, but even one thing that I learned, even with dealing with women who don't understand that, they'll take that shit as cheating. Like, I think even Patrice O'Neal said the shit on his radio show, back when he had it. Dealing with women, because I don't necessarily know, like, I'm my own dude, so I don't know how other dudes handle this situation, right? But dealing with women who, you take my daughter's mom, for instance, right? When I started to, like, perform a lot more, like, with comedy and shit like that, it almost sounded like the arguments we would have would almost sound like she felt like I was cheating on her with comedy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Because I'm doing something that I love that's outside of something that's mutual between us. So,
but in her, not defending her, but where she was probably feeling, she probably genuinely felt threatened, like you were not going to spend any time with her anymore. That's probably
that's and I'm saying, as far as perception goes, rightfully so. I'm not saying she was wrong for how she felt about it. I'm just saying that in that moment, you're either like when I get into arguments with women, especially women that like, it's like intimate and they're, a woman is like complaining about how much I'm not around.
Yeah.
I let them get their shit off, but then when they're done or when they just keep rambling, I'll stop and say, okay, so is this this right here, this is motivation for me to come around you more. What you doing right now, this is supposed to inspire me to be here more, as opposed to you just understanding that, one, I may be busy, can't come around as much as you want, and then two, just enjoying the time that we do have.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't, like I said, if guys are like that, bro, if there's a dude or, like if there's a dude who is fucking bitching at you about not spending enough time, get the fuck away from him.
Oh, a guy?
Yeah. There's no fucking reason that I could think of logical enough as to why a man would be complaining to a woman who is actually busy about not spending enough time. It's just some weirdo shit.
But okay, I've been in that situation as your ex. So I dated a fellow musician, not the last one, a different one. I dated a fellow musician. When we first started dating, things were good. We would like hang out once a week, and he did his music stuff, and that was fine. But then as the relationship progressed, I mean, like we would hang out like once a month, and like I understand like people get busy, but also from the woman's perspective, it's like once a month. It's like I got to get laid more than once a month. Like that's not enough.
But see, that's what I'm saying. Now think about this, and whatever, it's the past. But think about if you did have some side dude, you wouldn't give a fuck about his. Not that you wouldn't give a fuck about his once a month, but 9 out of 10, if arguments came, like if y'all wouldn't have had the same conversations about, bro, why the fuck all right, we used to hang out once a week. Now it's once a month. I get you busy, but what the fuck? I want dick, or whatever the situation was, right? Now, y'all wouldn't have had all them same conversations if you were getting side dick.
But
now, I'm not saying
it doesn't.
Now,
we talked about this last time.
Yeah,
Women have like an emotional attachment. So if we get side dick, we're gonna feel like
you're gonna start
cheap. We're gonna feel cheap, and then
I don't think you'll feel cheap. I think that here's the problem with women cheating. I think that y'all lose the concept of what is what. Like a guy, bro, I could fuck somebody tonight out here. I mean, out here it's fucking fentanyl and all types of shit. But like, I could fuck somebody tonight, and you know,
still know who the
not
main...
necessarily, not I give a fuck about people because I'm not, I'm just not an asshole. But I'm not gonna lose my perspective of what's what.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I still understand that, this pussy is not this what it was. It was pussy. It ain't finna. I'm not about to not spend time with my daughters because of this pussy. I'm not about to not perform because of this pussy. I'm not about to call out of work because of this pussy. It was literally at that moment, it was pussy. I think that when women take dick, especially some dick that you enjoy, the perception of what's what kind of gets fucked up. Every now and then you'll run into
Do you know who Nikki Glaser is? She has a joke about this. Yeah. She says when she takes a dick in her mouth, it's close to her heart.
But see, it'd be shit like that where that's the thing. I think there's some type of psychological investment that even comes with that dynamic, because no matter how a woman or, I guess a gay man or whatever, no matter what, right? No matter how you accept dick, it's always entering. You know what I'm saying?
I understand.
Whether it could be actual sex or whether it is head, whether it's, a hand job, dick is in your hand. It's like, it's always entering you, as opposed to when we do it, it's we're entering you, we're giving the dick, and if we eat your pussy, our mouth is just on your pussy, even though the tongue might go in.
Side note, did you know the phrase "come into somebody" came from the Bible? I'm reading Genesis right now just because I'm curious about it.
You're reading the first Bible?
Isn't Genesis the first one?
Well, all right, yeah, it's the first book of the Bible.
That's what I mean. The first book of the Bible, Genesis, and
damn,
they have some phrases in there that I'm like, is this what I'm reading right now? But I'm being funny, but it's also completely relating to what we're saying too. They talk about like reproducing, and they're like, and he came into her. And I first read that, I'm like, this has got to be a phrase for something else. And then I kept reading on. I'm like, no, anytime they like reproduce or they say we're gonna have kids, they say he came into her. I'm like, that's where the phrase "come" comes from. Is the Bible. In context, like what you're saying, it's like literally the man comes into the woman. Like it's. Yeah.
So it's like, I think that that's the reason why it's different. But I was just saying that an example to, like, in a perfect, well, not in a perfect world, I guess, but in a different world where women can compartmentalize side dick from your life.
No.
If you were able to get side dick but still be in that life, you wouldn't be tripping on this shit. I tell motherfuckers all the time, look, you don't want all of my attention. Like, that shit might sound like some cool shit. You want my undivided and you want 100%. And all. That shit might sound okay, but I am an overthinker. I am over analytical. I fucking, like you said, what'd you say? We're both
aware,
like aware, but I forgot the words you used.
Hypersensitive, like aware of our surroundings.
Yeah, but you said something when we were talking about the gym and just noticing our body.
In tune,
I guess it was something else, but like I am all those things. So if you have all of that, I'm going to notice everything. And all the shit that I did not like about you that I didn't notice before, I notice now. And that's either going to make me, one, start complaining to you more about the shit that I don't like, or two, just start pulling back on how much I'm attracted to you.
You remember you were saying before about chaos and order, like how it's kind of natural. Maybe that's just what men and women are. Maybe men are chaos and women are order, and that's why we can't really. I
damn sure don't think that.
I think so, because like women are very like, get back on time. We need to spend this time together. And men, if men didn't have that, you even said you're motivated by women. You mentioned that before.
But that doesn't. Why? That's not because it's
the order,
it's chaos and order. It's because well, the women I was speaking of is because of
it could go the other way around. There's some bitches who are chaos.
But yeah, but I'm saying I think that naturally. Now here's my thing. I think naturally it's the reverse, because women are more, and we just speaking generally. I don't want to fucking
emotional.
Whatever. Yes, and a lot of times the emotion drives your logic, as far as like your thought process. So, like even in the situation you said, right, the emotion was feeling kind of neglected, and as opposed to being like, yeah, but this motherfucker's a bomb ass musician who's always busy, like he's working on this shit, and that's why I really fuck with him. That's the shit that I like about him. That's the reason why I'm with him, is because of his drive. The emotion kind of led. The emotion kind of
bullshit. Yeah, he's this great musician that I never see. Like, so he doesn't exist.
It's not that he doesn't exist, but that's what I'm saying. You're still not. You're eliminating the fact that this motherfucker is on a mission, and I could either be.
That's a good friend. We're still friends. We're still friends.
Fair, but I bet you. I tell you. I bet money that I could bet money Kevin Hart's wife ain't tripping on how busy that man is, because she's probably
got a lot of money.
But that's what I'm saying. So that's what I mean about the emotion, because emotions are temporary too. Yeah. Where it's like, all right, so if you was sitting on millions and billions, go ahead, handle your shit.
That wasn't the case.
But that's what I'm saying.
The money, the value was the time spent.
But see, that's what I'm saying. When it's not, and that's where the chaos comes in, because there's certain levels and certain stipulations that people will accept shit for and people won't accept shit for. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like realistically, when it comes down to it, if you're telling me that a woman who has millions because her husband is a hard worker will accept his busyness, as opposed to a motherfucker who is either on the rise working towards it.
I was saying I like Joe Rogan. He said on his podcast he makes a weekly date night with his wife, and he's the busiest motherfucker. All right, but you also see, here's the thing. Everything, and he still has a weekly date night with his wife.
And here's what I hate when people, not hate, that's a strong ass word. Here's what I really don't like about when people do those things, right? Because there was even a saying that said, like, yo, man, like there was a meme or some shit I seen like mad years ago that was like, Jay-Z got time for Beyonce, but you niggas ain't got time for. What you're doing is you're comparing a motherfucker who has everything. Like Joe Rogan could afford to be like, no, Tuesday night I'm shutting shit down because one night a week is not gonna fuck up all of this income.
Yeah. True.
Same thing with Jay-Z. So when you talking to a motherfucker who is trying to build that I can bet
But
money.
then,
Look,
okay, that
I get the
trying
point.
to build that might not be in a place to date.
But yeah, sure.
That could just
so
be
that's
it.
the thing. So that's the thing where it's like, you know, Joe Rogan might not have met his wife until he was Joe Rogan.
Which is
Jay-Z and Beyonce didn't get together until they were Jay-Z and Beyonce.
That's fair.
So then it's like, yeah, but all right, in that relationship, who pushed for the relationship? Who wanted it?
In which relationship?
The relationship you were just describing. Did you bring it up? Like, yo, what are we doing? Are we?
It was mutual in the beginning. Like it started as a mutual thing.
But I'm saying, who said? Did he say, yo, you know what? I want to make this official, or did you just look up and it was like official, and then y'all just roll with it? There's been a couple of my relationships where it's like, oh shit, this bitch is my girl.
I think we were doing a thing. It was kind of like that. And then I asked him, like, I was just like, are we a boyfriend and girlfriend? And he's like, yeah. Like,
Right.
he didn't even think about it. He was just
Right.
like, yeah.
But if you never would have brought it up,
He would have never done it.
he would have never brought it up, because as a dude who's consciously, like, if I know that I'm on a mission, that's why I do things where I don't promise time to nobody. Nothing
Yeah.
stops except for my daughters.
Yeah.
If I'm at the crib and I'm editing comedy videos that I want to post or
Yeah.
some shit like that, and my daughter comes up to me and says, "Daddy, look at this," I stop what I'm doing and I watch what she's doing, and I interact with her and shit like that. And then when she runs off and plays, those are the only two individuals, until I fuck around and have more kids. Those are the only two individuals who everything stops for, because
Yeah.
I owe them that. But realistically, I don't promise time to nobody, and it's because anything could happen. I could, there's been plenty of times where I tell a motherfucker, yeah, I'll hang out with you. All right, we can get together Thursday or Friday. And then, Thursday or Friday comes, and it'd be that afternoon, and the motherfucker. No, but what I'm saying is not every Thursday or Friday. I'm saying like right now it's Friday. If somebody hits me and says, yo, what you doing next Friday? And I don't got no plans, I'll be like, I ain't doing shit. All right, let's hang out. All right, cool. But next Friday afternoon, somebody hit me and say, yo, what you doing tonight? Yo, I got a slot and I need somebody to fill in. Somebody backed out. I'm going to go do that.
Well,
so
no,
it's like, it's
here's
one of
the
those
thing.
things. It's
Here's
one of
the
those
thing.
things
That's
where
fair, but you can still make the attempt to like keep it somewhat regular. And then when those things come up, they come up.
But see, I would rather not ever promise time as opposed to keep making it look like I'm lying or keep making it look like I'm backing out of shit.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
But also, you have the right to feel that way, but also a woman might have the right to say, that's you, doesn't work for me. This
Fair.
does, like everyone's allowed to have their thing.
And look, and my thing is, I don't never shun nobody for that. In fact,
like that's what you're saying.
When I
like
meet
it's fucked up. It's not fucked up either way. It's not fucked up for you to think that, and it's not fucked up for someone to not think that.
Wait,
like,
I said it was fucked up.
You said it was fucked. You were like, I hate when people.
I said those two comparisons.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're comparing a motherfucker who is trying to, like before Jay-Z and Joe Rogan got to where they were going, they were men on a mission building something. And then when they got to that point where they said, yo, you know what? It's time to share this with somebody or whatever the fuck happened, they were able to do that and be able to make certain sacrifices that would not fuck up the whole. Now, I could bet anything that I have if Joe Rogan's wife said, hey, man, stop the podcast, stop all this shit. I want all the rest of your time. He would be like, bitch, where the papers at?
No.
But that's what I'm saying. She wouldn't do that because
what I'm saying
he is who he is.
He is, but he's also, like I said, making some time for her
because he can afford it.
Yeah.
If a man is not, I'm not where I want to be in life.
Yeah.
So I cannot make time because realistically, unless you are, if you're like, yo, come over, let's hang out. Okay, am I coming over? Are you trying to what? Are you trying to help me? Fucking, what are we gonna talk about? Are you gonna help me figure out how to be a better comedian? Are you gonna help? Are we gonna talk about me?
I'm gonna bring something else up now.
What?
Whitney Cummings said this, and I love this. I quote it all the time. She said,
"Who?
Whitney Cummings.
Oh.
I like her. She's a stand-up comedian and podcaster. She said, art reflects life, but if you don't have a life, you'll have nothing to say in your art. So if you're like constantly in grind mode, what are you going to talk about in your comedy if all like what are you going to write comedy about writing comedy? Like you have to have a life to live. Like,
true.
You know?
But you know what? That's where what I would say to that is, you know, and I keep bringing the nigga up. I think every time I'm here, Kevin Hart.
No.
When you look at the beginning of his career, his first, I want to say 3 or 4 specials were literally the funniest he's ever been because of the fact that he was a man on the grind. And yes, he was married and all that other shit, but the arguments that came from that.
I read his book. I heard about that.
Went towards the comedy. So it's like, yeah, what she's saying is cool, but it's cool just as a general statement. But once you think about the nuances of life and you think about the intricacies of life, there's nobody who is waking up, writing, then going to an open mic, and then coming home sleeping, waking up, right? Unless you are getting paid to wake up, right, go to open mics and come home and sleep, there's other parts of your life. So yeah, what she's saying is cool, but it's also like a thing of like, all right, look, because where I'm at, my grind drives my life. Yeah. And realistically, the reason why I cannot sacrifice time is because, like I was starting to say, where it's like, yo, are you going to help me? If I come over and chill with you, are we going to talk about how we're going to take my comedy to the next thing? Are we going to talk about how, you know, what finances? Are we going to spend time trying to build something? Or you just want me to come Netflix and chill? Because if you just want me to come hang out, I personally don't feel like I'm at a space in my life where I deserve leisure time.
That's fair.
With somebody who is not somebody I owe it to. My daughter.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not criticizing your opinion on that. Like, your opinion's totally fair. I'm just saying I also understand the female perspective and how I really think the answer to that is just then don't date. Like, you're just not a good match.
But here's what I was saying with your initial point, where it's like the chaos and the order.
Oh, right. Yeah.
In my mind, it's order. Yo, these things have to happen.
Yeah.
That's the order. The chaos is when the emotion from the counterparts come, and now I have to deal with you as a grown woman feeling like I have to deal with neglect talk, and I have to deal with shit where it's like, yo, why can't you just understand that this is where I'm at right now? And plus me, I give a disclaimer. If I just meet you and it's like, and she's like, yeah, you know, so what's your life like? What are you into? I'm like, look, my life has 4 motherfucking elements that drive it.
Yeah.
It is fatherhood, it's comedy, it's work, and it's the gym. Those are really the 4 main things. Well, working out. Those are the 4 main things that I'm into. Now, of course, here and there, I get some pussy in between. But realistically, that happens when one of those 4 elements or all of those 4 elements are like tied up. Yo, I'm off work. I don't have a show. My daughters might be with, you know, their mom or so they're busy and, you know, the gym is closed, or I already worked out for today. I don't really need to work out again, you know. Then it's like, all right. And if I was already productive, you know what I'm saying? Like if I already put about, you know, a good amount of time in to doing something productive, then it's like, all right, cool. Yeah, you free. But that's where my life is. It ain't no, yo, let's hang out, whatever. Let's hang out Thursday. No, I get it. Yeah. I could tell you that. I could tell you, yeah, but we'll be lucky if we hang out Thursday because I know how shit goes. Anything could happen. It don't even got to be a show. You know, something could happen to where it's like, yo, I got to be with my daughters. You know what I'm saying? Something could happen to where it's like, yo, you know, they offered overtime at work and I need all the bread I can get right now. Like it's a thing where it's like, yeah, there's like don't date. But the reason why I asked you about who initiated the relationship was because in my mind, and I hate to say this because it's going to sound away, but you can ask any one of my ex-girlfriends. I have never initiated a fucking relationship ever. And I'm talking about even since I was young. I like 16, 17. I have never said, it's always been the woman. Will you be my girl? Yeah. Literally every single relationship, aside from, well, I haven't been in that many, but yeah, it's always been, yo, what are we doing? What is this? I just got into, well, not just, but I had a conversation one time where it was this chick that was talking about marriage, and it was like, it was that shit where it's like, I'm like, what's the reason for it? And she was giving me all her reasons, but to boil it down, it was really just a significant title.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, cool. I get all that shit, but I'm not doing nothing just for the satisfaction of saying this is what it is.
I don't think that's what it is for all people, though. I think especially religious types, they have like a sacred way of thinking about marriage.
But it's still like, all right, look, I look at it like this. I'm not even talking about marriage, right? I'm talking about just regular relationships, right? If me and you hang out, if we have a great time, we might have great sex. I help you with shit, you help me with shit. We figuring things out. There is no reason to say, what are we doing? Bitch, we are building. Like there's no reason to ask that question, because obviously we fuck with each other in a way that really cannot and should not be capped.
The question just means like, do I fuck other people or just you? That's what the question is. Basically.
But my thing would be just ask that question. You know what I'm saying? Don't ask me, what are we doing? Or don't ask me, yo, are we exclusive? Like, all right, cool. You can say, all right, are we exclusive, right? My thing is, I don't give a fuck what nobody does when they're not around me. I can't. Like, there's nothing inside of me that can care about what you do when you're not around me, because A, I can't control it anyway, and there's only A. That's it. I can't control this shit, so I'll just drive myself crazy wondering if you fucking somebody. I'll drive myself crazy wondering if you texting some dude, and I've done it. Like I've been in a relationship where I hit that thing where I was this fucking jealous guy, and I was like this.
You've been like, I can't imagine you like that.
Well, because I pulled, because it was just one of them things where it's like, all right, cool. I have never been like in every relationship, right? I told myself in the beginning of this relationship, I said, I have never been like a completely monogamous dude. I've always, since I was a teenager, I always kept my options open. I've always entertained bitches. I've always flirted. I've never given a woman 100% of me, like my whole shit. So I'm like, yo, you know what? I'm going to try that shit. Yeah. And it went south because of all that shit that I was saying.
It's funny that like once you shifted your perspective of like, I'm going to do it, you like got insecure.
Well, yeah, because what happened was I started noticing all the shit that I wasn't noticing when other bitches had my attention. Like you kind of start noticing like, oh shit, her and that dude kind of talk a lot. like you know what I'm saying? Like or you know, do
you ever
like,
as a non-monogamous mentality, non-monogamous,
I don't
do you ever experience that type of jealousy at this point?
Well, nah, because my mentality is not like the same way. I don't like to put titles on relationships. I don't like to put titles on how I think. I'm not necessarily non-monogamous, but I just understand that monogamy is not the end all be all of what a good person or a good relationship is. Yeah. So in the mind state that I have now, I don't find myself in that, you know, jealous or thing like that, because one, I'm so like, my arrogance is fucking through the roof. So I feel like once you stop fucking, like if you're fucking with me and then fucking with somebody else at the same time, it's not going to work out good for you or that other person. Yeah. Because no matter what, like a lot of women are attracted to just this here. Like just long ass conversations is how I got a lot of women in my life, just talking to them. And then they see, oh shit, this nigga's not just a good looking dude. He's not just a funny guy. He's not just a motherfucker who could play basketball or whatever the fuck. It's like, yo, this dude actually has a mind. And realistically, I get that. I get the consciousness before I get the pussy. So now once sex starts happening and I'm good at that too, it's like, oh shit. A lot of dudes are like, a lot of motherfucking dudes are just, they just want to fuck a lot, and that's cool. But I'm giving you way more than dick on top of the dick that I'm giving you. So it's like, if you're fucking with another person while you're fucking with me, eventually you're still gonna leave the other person alone.
Yeah.
I don't believe there's no, and there's a good amount of bitches that could attest to this shit. A couple of them might not admit it, but it's whatever. I honestly feel like once I had a woman on every level that you can have a woman on, I have some type of privilege for life. Like I don't think that there's a woman in my past that I can't at least say, all right, yo, fuck it. Let's at least try. I don't give a fuck how long ago it was. It could be last year. It could be 10 years ago. I could, if I can get in contact with them and say, yo, look, I've been thinking about you and da 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 da, and you know, I know that if I say, look, I want to give this shit another go,
they would say yes.
They might not say yes on some movie shit like, oh yeah, I've been waiting for 10 years, but it wouldn't be a flat out no. It would be, it might be like, yo, nigga, is you crazy? And it's like, yo, look, all right, cool. Let's just hang out. Let's just go out to eat somewhere and see if the shit is still there and all that other shit. But it would not be like a no.
A rejection.
No, it wouldn't be, because I offer too much. The only thing, this is going to sound crazy. I think the reason why my finances, like I'm not financially where I want to be, or maybe like comedically where I want to be, because to me, I think those two things in my life will run hand in hand. The reason why I'm not where I want to be with that is because I would literally, I think that there would be nothing wrong with me. The only thing that bothers me about myself is where I'm at as far as finances and where I'm at as far as like success goes. But everything else, like I said, I don't feel like I'm a bad person. You know what I'm saying? I don't move in a bad way.
What's wrong with, like, I don't want to say being perfect, but what's wrong with having everything? What's wrong with having everything?
No, but, well,
you know,
I don't think nothing is wrong with it, but I do feel like I feel like, all right, I feel like one day it'll definitely come. But the reason why it's taking so long is because I think that, you know, time or, you know, God or whatever's running this whole thing, I think that motherfucker knows if he give me that now, it could be detrimental in the long run. I was just
thinking that about myself. That's so funny you say that. So, oh my God, this is embarrassing, but it's not that embarrassing. We've talked about this. Remember we talked about Botox? Mm-hmm. You know what Botox is, right? So I've gotten it before. It doesn't last forever. It's not like plastic surgery. I think I got it 3 times in my life. It lasts like 2 or 3 months, and then sometimes 4 months. But if you have a high metabolism, it doesn't last as long. And I have a pretty high metabolism. So like it'll last like 2-3 months for me. So I've only had it 3 times. I wanted it so bad, and I didn't have enough money to get it. And I was like, I can't wait to get it. I can't wait to get it. And I really truly feel like a God or something was protecting me from doing it, because I finally had enough money. Like, I'm settled into my new place. I'm doing well. I finally had enough money to get it done. I was waiting like a year and a half. I'm like, I can't wait to get my Botox. I went in there, and my perception of the whole experience was completely different than what it was a year ago. And I knew, like, intuitively, like, this is a bad idea. And a year and a half ago, I would have just done it. So it's like, in a weird way, I was like, holy shit. Now that I think about it, the weird blessings that came with not having money. If I was rich, I might have had fake tits. I might have had all kinds of stuff, because I wasn't mentally mature enough to sometimes have that money.
You gotta be saved from yourself sometimes.
Yeah, I mean,
and I think I know that, you know, where my like my ego is driven by a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
But it's also, it could be like, you hear those stories about people who get famous or rich too young or whatever. And even though we in our 30s, it's still a thing of, you know, I think there's still some internal work that has to be done with me so that I can reach that and handle it in a reasonable, logical fashion. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like I know at some point it'll come, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you're like, what's wrong with having everything? Nothing is wrong with having everything as long as you can handle that shit.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because it's even motherfuckers on top of the world that you know, make stupid ass mistakes. You know what I'm saying? It's you know, the perception of everything is, you know, a lot of shit that keeps me like really like going insane is knowing that my daughters are straight, like, you know, and that's inside and out, like, you know what I'm saying, their health and like, it's, you know, and you know, me and my baby mom, we get into it from time to time, but I can't ever factor out, you know, the fact that she did what she, I don't want to say had to do, but, you know, to, you know, like breastfeeding and all that shit, like certain shit like that helps the development. You know what I mean?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we had a little tech issue, but actually it was a divine intervention because we realized we were going on for longer.
Days.
For days. We were going on for a couple hours. This is definitely going to be a 2-parter episode. They usually are with Ricky. So that's it, episode 125. Don't forget to subscribe to help me grow this channel. Your support is more helpful than you know. Have a good night, guys. Bye.